Anybody remember what we talked about last week? Hell no.
God lives in your creativity.
Yes. Okay. What was I talking about?
You were talking about some lady at the hospital.
What was the point of it?
That was 7 days ago. I was detoxed, but I can't remember.
Basically, how
And then what
the
happened?
little things to us sometimes can be. Well, the little things that we think can get us. We just gotta stand up for ourselves in the middle of it. You know, say like, nah, that's not gonna make me. You know, that doesn't make me in that situation. You know, it doesn't make me out to be that person.
I don't know if I'm not mistaken. I think it was all about.
Not letting it have power over us.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's about getting to the core about inner self.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit I had caught on.
All right. Let me briefly recap.
I don't know.
No, I mean, it's whatever you got. It's probably, if you didn't get it clear, it was probably my fault that I didn't explain it clearly. So, it's all good. Remember the bipolar thing? We go back and forth between I'm great, doing all my little things, I know everything, got my life together. And we move between that and I ain't worth nothing, kill me. And we move back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And what we were talking about, and we move many times into, it's you understand bipolar, manic? And I'm not talking about a diagnosis, I'm just talking about a process. But many times we move into that, the bright light, manic, I got everything together thing, to avoid our pain, you know. And has anybody ever been around bipolar folks? You know, what's the pattern of that?
What's the pattern? They're really sweet and then they get real angry. That's one I
It's either or.
I actually,
It's either or kind of
I
stuff.
basically you live with one, but yeah, I did.
Many times bipolar folks, they're either, I mean, the stereotype is they have big hats, lots of makeup, spending money, doing all kind of crazy stuff, just having fun, and then they'll crash and hit the bottom. The first bipolar person, she was schizoaffective with some bipolar stuff, that I ever met, that I knew, because I was 20, I didn't really know, 22, something like that. And I was a young little chaplain in the University of Louisville Psychiatric Hospital. And the way they used to teach us stuff is they throw you in the pool, see if you can swim. So they gave me one, they said, go, that's your client, go talk to her, whatever. And long story short, what she would do when she would get depressed or anxious or whatever, she was raised Catholic, and she would pray her rosary. Y'all know the rosary? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that brought her some comfort. And as she began to get more manic, she would feel closer to Jesus, and she would end up kind of locking herself away from the world in her room and just praying the rosary all the time, not eating, not anything, until it culminated in her having sex with Jesus. Okay? You know, if you're going to go for the gusto, I guess. But, and it was a mystic kind of experience for her. And it's not without precedent. If you ever read any of the mystical writings, Teresa of Avila and all those, they talked about, they described their spiritual experiences as a union like that. Because when you have sex and it's good, what do you say? Oh God, right? Right? Okay. If you have sexual dreams, that's usually a spiritual issue. Okay, it's not just well, you're young, it may just be you're horny, but all that stuff's connected. Okay, how does the Bible culminate in a wedding ceremony, a consummation of the marriage between Christ and the bride? Okay, I'm not just being profane. That's what the story is. That Jesus came and did all this stuff to rescue his bride, right? Okay. So there's a connection with all this stuff. So, and after she would have sex with Jesus, in her experience, she would crash, and then Jesus would turn on her and become the whore, and she would become the whore of Babylon. So that's pretty extreme. She was the bride of Christ and the whore of Babylon, all within a few days. And that pattern repeated over and over and over in her life, and I saw her probably for a year and a half in and out of the hospital. And I would meet with her weekly, and sometimes she would disappear and come back. No. If any of y'all been around the psychologists, psychiatrists kind of folks, they have different designations and diagnosis of. Anybody study all that stuff, and every time you read it, you thought you had it, you know?
Like Darwinism and all that stuff.
And it's because everything in there, we all have some of it. The issue with the diagnosis is those folks, it's like the old record player, the needle just kind of gets stuck, and that's where they stay. But we all move from feeling good one day to feeling less good, and back and forth and back and forth. It's kind of like the weather. You know, sometimes it's sunny and sometimes it's stormy and sometimes it's just in between. Okay. What this lady eventually taught me is she was raised by a schizophrenic mother, and her father would sexually abuse her. And she would go to her mother, and mother would not respond much. And the father, in his abuse of her, would talk bad to her. Okay, and they were Catholic folks, and so there was, again, religious overtone, like the woman last week. And how this woman's pattern proceeded, because she was in her 40s, maybe 50 by now, was a direct correlation to how she was raised, because she taught me one of her favorite prayers she would pray with the rosary, and I'm not Catholic, so I don't know all the specifics of the prayer, but it went something like, "Dear Mother Mary, tell God that I'm not really a bad girl." Okay. Which was the exact pattern she lived out as a child. She would go to her mother and say, "Mother, kind of tell God or Daddy that I'm not a bad girl." Okay. And so we all have some of that. We move back and forth in our own ways. What I was trying to get at last week is that many times we miss God or God's activity in our life because we're moving away from what we would call negative symptoms: sadness, anger, fear, whatever. And that's the place God wants to do the work. That's the place of growth. That's the place of change. When we stay either in the F it, I'm no good, I'm going to go get high or bump it or whatever, there's nothing going on there. There's no redemption. There's no creative change going on. There's no new knowledge. There's no new information gotten. Okay? Or on the other end of the continuum, when we got everything together and we know everything, there's no change going on. There's no new information. There's no... Does that make sense, what I'm saying about? And that, a month ago or so I did the foot washing thing with some of y'all, and it was all weird, and, because when somebody washes your feet or gets in your space like that, it feels kind of uncomfortable sometimes. It's weird, it's different. Okay? And in the story of the Last Supper and the foot washing, Jesus, the master of the servant, the master, basically, it says he took off his clothes, got down to his drawers. All right? And the leader, the master, then began to try to wash the disciples' feet. And Peter's response was, "Oh, dude, that's kind of weird, you know." And Jesus said, "Well, if you don't let me wash your feet, there's not much I can do for you. This is who God is. This is God's activity, is washing the dirty parts." And our response to somebody approaching our God, even approaching our dirty parts, is, "Oh, no. You know, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus said, well, if I can't do this, I can't help you. And then Peter just popped off. He never quite got it for a long time. He's go, oh, well, then bathe all of me. He was so dramatic, you know.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, boy, you already had a bath. You don't even understand what I'm talking about. You know. But both of those were responses to, oh, I'm not worthy to, wash me all. Rather than submitting the ego to God's ministry. So many times we miss God because where God wants to work, it feels very weird. We have to surrender control. We have to become as a little child. And a little child, typically when you're washing the shit off their butt, they just lay there and let you. Right? You might have to chase them down to get them to lay down and get still, but they're not going, oh, don't touch my thing, and I'm so embarrassed, and So, and we talked, we remember the rabbit lady from last week? When she finally went and told, she didn't care. I was listening back to it, and I think she didn't care, I would rephrase that until fear no longer held her captive, I would say that. If she died, she died. Okay? You see that pattern in Job, when he took God to court. You see that pattern in Jacob when he wrestled with an angel. I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. There's some audacity in that. There's putting it all out there. It's not kind of staying behind our facade and our curtain and trying to work deals with God about this particular thing or that particular thing. Does that make any sense? Okay. When we become as a little child, part of that is being naked in front of God. Having our shame or our feelings of shame revealed again. Adam and Eve, in the 3rd chapter, Genesis. They go through that whole first 2 chapters, and it's about intimacy. The first chapter talks about the Creator God bringing order out of chaos, and it becomes more and more complex as it goes. Right? Heavens and the earth, and then what's next? I don't remember what's next. Heavens and the earth, the land and the sea, and it becomes more and more complex until the culmination of it is the creation of the humans. The 2nd chapter is a little different. It tells even a little different order of creation. My read on that is more about intimacy and relationship, where God puts the man to they were naming the animals, and God sees that Adam's by himself, and he goes, oh, I'm going to get him a woman. So he puts him to sleep and takes his rib out and fashions a woman and brings the woman to Adam, and it says, flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone, which is real boring. It's more like, yes! This is what I needed, didn't even know it. She's hot, she's fine, yes! And then the story progresses where Adam and Eve God said, do whatever you want to, just leave that thing alone. Okay? And so I guess that they, every day Adam went and did Adam things, and Eve went and did Eve things, and every evening God would come and hang out with them. And I think God must have had a big swing under a tree, and they'd sit and he'd go, what'd you do today, baby? And Adam would say, well, I got on my three-wheeler and I went up there, and I looked up on that, and I climbed that, and I did that, and I did that. And God said, oh, that's good, baby. Cool. And he'd take what Adam did and he'd put it on his refrigerator. That's good, baby. Good for you. And he'd say, Eve, what'd you do? Well, I'm out here working on this little garden thing, and, would you tell Adam to help me move this rock? Because he keeps wanting to go play and stuff, and I'm trying to, make it pretty around here. And God said, Adam help that woman. And Adam said, yes, sir. And, and then every day, what'd you do today? And It was good, and they were described as naked and not ashamed. Open, intimate with themselves, each other, the Creator, the creation. It was just naked and not ashamed. And then the story of the fall, however folks may want to interpret that, there was a change where the serpent tempted Eve. And one thing about women, they're a lot smarter than us in a lot of ways. You know, not all women. I'm not trying to be too stereotypical, but you know, most guys, I'll get a show of hands. We go to work so we can go lay down. We'll work our butts off so we can play. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Women, and we tend to think about right now, unless we got a bill coming or something, right? You know, and really, without women, we'd probably still live in a hole in the ground, right? You know, but the ladies,
Perfectly happy with it.
yeah, cool. But there's something about the effect of the lady on us. We'll do a lot of things for her, right? And it's not just sex. There's a cool effect that a female can have on a man, you know. But the ladies, they're thinking more long term. They're thinking about security and stability, and it's a great example of the difference between most women and most men is the mall. Anybody go to the mall, the Galleria? Right? And as soon as you walk into the mall, it's like kryptonite hits you. That's why they had to put all them benches in there. Yeah. Because if we're hunting or we're doing something or walking through Lowe's or Home Depot, we can walk in there for like 3 days. We don't have to eat nothing. Right? You walk into the mall and they got that music playing and that smell and that air conditioning, and it's just like, oh Lord, I got to sit down. Right? And you ever had your lady ask you to go shopping with her? Yeah, and you know, and that feeling in the pit in your stomach, you're like, oh God.
Carry first.
Right? Because generally a woman does shopping very differently than we do. We go shopping unless it's at Lowe's or Home Depot. Right? We go, like she'll say, I need a red shirt. And you go, okay. And she'll say, it'll take 10 minutes. I know where it is. It's in Belk, and I know what rack it's on. I'm going to go get it, and we'll be done. And you're like, okay. Walk in there with her, and, all y'all going, so you understand it. Right? She goes right to the red shirt, and then she'll go, and you're thinking, because what we do is we go out, kill deer, bring home, feed family, then lay down. That's how we think. Right? Watch TV or play or whatever it is we want to do. And you're thinking, okay, cool. There's a red shirt. Kill it. Get it. Let's go. But she's going, look, there's another red shirt and there's another. But look at this. These shoes will be good. And you feel that dread in the pit of your stomach, and it kind of starts sinking, and the kryptonite starts working on you. You know. And you're still saying, there's a shirt. Shoot it. Kill it. Let's get it. And then she'll go, well, there's one other place I want to look, and you know how all this goes. And it's because we're different by temperament, generally. And it's real cool how the male and the female can complement one another. Because poor ladies, many times, they can't go to sleep from just laying there thinking about, y'all ever heard your woman talk about they can't shut their mind off? They're always thinking, And we're like, you know. But again, without them, we'd live in a hole in the ground. Art, music, a lot of that stuff probably wouldn't even exist. I don't even know where I was going with all that. Adam and Eve, okay. And God didn't tell Adam, well, God told Adam the deal. He didn't really tell Eve, but Adam was off riding his four-wheeler and stuff, so. and there was no prohibition about going to the tree, talking to the snake. There's, you know, just. So Eve, out of her curiosity, went and looked, I guess. Was talking to the snake, and the snake was trying to bullshit her. Right? Do y'all know that? Because he was asking her stuff. Didn't God say y'all couldn't do? And Eve was like, no, God said we can do anything we want to except this one thing. But anyway, she bit the apple and went to talk to Adam and said, hey baby, how you doing? And his backbone fell out his rear end. And y'all had your backbone fall out your rear end because of a woman? Well, it really wasn't her fault. It was your backbone to hold on to. But.
My heart just like sometimes it's not bad. It beats too fast.
And some of y'all right now are dealing with relationship issues, right? Some of you are really hurt and worried, and right? Because that's root, primal stuff in us. And it says that Adam and Eve saw themselves as naked and ashamed, right? And what did they do?
He'd make garments.
They went and got some fig leaves. And they made them some drawers. Right? Any of y'all ever pick figs? What happens if you make some, or okra? What happens if you put fig leaves or okra leaves on your junk?
Might have to go to the hospital.
I mean, it'll cover it up, right? It'll cover it up, but it'll irritate it. It's not very long lasting, you know. So you got to have a constant supply of fig leaves to keep yourself covered up, especially if you're roofing a house or something, or you know, right? And so Adam and Eve made them some drawers out of some fig leaves, and they went and squatted in the bushes, like a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old, whatever, sneaking behind the couch and taking a shit in his pants with his eyes closed. Thinking, y'all don't need kids that'll do that? Think nobody can see them because their eyes are closed. Have you ever went and saw your kid doing that and go, baby, you using the bathroom in your pants? And what did the kid say? No. You know? And you get him to, right? And you start chasing him and his pants will do like that. Because it's full, no. And you're not trying to hurt the kid, you're just trying to help him handle his shit. Right? That's what Adam and Eve was doing. I mean, it's no different emotionally than what we do when we hide. God's just trying to help us get the shit off of us. And we go, well, what about his shit?